Everybody loves a popular galaxy brain Sonic theory, one that connects many dots taken from various examples throughout the games that leads to one giant speculative conclusion. I'm all about that stuff, but recently I found myself drawn to smaller, lesser known theories. Ideas about the unknown in Sonic's world that may or may not be grandiose in nature, or theories relating to the characters rather than the world around them. There are many headcanons and theories out there that are worth exploring, so I'm going to talk about a few that I've come up with, as well as those that I've seen online that piqued my interest. Recently, I've been thinking a lot about aliens in Sonic, if you couldn't tell, so naturally, even after finishing up my Sonic theory video about aliens, I scoured the internet for more info, as well as pondering about my own thoughts. Something I've been curious about is the Ancients and the Chao. This entire time, I've been referring to the Ancients and Chao pipeline as degeneration. The Chao are very much baby-adjacent creatures that need to be looked after. A far cry from the intellectual brilliance demonstrated by the Ancients, but part of me wonders if this is even true. On the surface, it may certainly seem like the Ancients becoming Chao was a result of degeneration, seeing as how Chao are depicted in the games like Sonic Adventure as defenseless little creatures. On the flip side of this, the Chao are also shown to be very capable of violence. In SA2, you can raise Chao to be bullies, and there's even a Chao minigame that involves hand-to-hand combat. Cheese, Cream's Chao, is a little demon in Sonic Advance 2 that renders boss fights to simple, endless runner obstacle challenges that take about a minute to complete. If I'm not mistaken, in Sonic Heroes you're able to command Cheese to attack enemies if Amy and Big are unavailable to do the Thundershoot ability. The Chao are very capable beings. They can swim, fly, climb, and run great distances. They are also capable of aging, living for years at a time and eventually reincarnating or dying. Chao can also reproduce once they've become adults, so it's not like there's any impending danger of the extinction of the species. The Chao are very malleable. There are a multitude of mutations that Chao can go through, a notable one being Chaos Chao, who achieves immortality once you fulfill certain criteria. To my knowledge, the Ancients aren't immortal beings. The conclusion I've come to is that the Ancients becoming the Chao wasn't a matter of degeneration, but rather a necessary evolution for their survival. Chao are a domesticated alien species now, very dependent yet capable of doing their own thing when need be. The Ancients traded smarts for adaptability when becoming the Chao, and it worked out for them. Sticking to the theme of aliens here, a sub of mine, Fatal Waffle, speculated on what the Wisps are doing inside Sonic when he's not actively using their power. Are they swimming around in his gut? Are they taking a nap? If so, how is that even possible? Based on the gameplay mechanic we've seen throughout numerous Sonic games in the 2010s featuring the Wisps, they are used as consumables. Their hyper go-on energy essentially makes them limitless batteries, like how the Chaos Emeralds can act as batteries for machinery. What are they doing inside Sonic's body in the meantime? How is Sonic's body able to absorb them so easily? To explain what I think is going on here, I gotta dip a toe in my science bag. So, the body produces energy by breaking down the stuff we eat, converting it into ATP, which the cells in our body uses as energy. Maybe once the Wisps are absorbed in Sonic's body recognizes Wisp's energy as supercharged ATP, which Sonic can convert into energy, allowing him to temporarily transform into a unique looking Wisp. The other question then arises, how can Sonic use the Wisp's energy for a limited amount of time? Going back to the battery comparison, the human body can conduct a little bit of electrical current through the ions present in our bloodstreams. It's possible that the hyper-go-on energy latches onto these ions, building a surplus of electric charge that Sonic converts into power until his body stabilizes, which either happens when he runs out of hyper-go-on energy or stops tapping into it if the Wisp is still inside him. I know Sonic isn't a human, but there's nothing about him that we've seen to suggest that his body doesn't operate the same way aside from having beyond superhuman abilities, so I think it's fair game for comparison's sake. The final explanation I came up with is that Sonic is acting as the Wisp's mecha, but with his own agency. They exist inside him once absorbed, and through whatever method he can tap into their energy, and the Wisps respond in kind to complete the transformation. When he's not using their energy, they can do whatever they want until they can sense Sonic getting ready to use their energy. My Chaos Energy video really got me interested in theories about the origins of the Chaos Emeralds. Sadly, I couldn't find any theories of interest that I didn't already glance over in the Chaos Energy video. A lot of what I did find were theories about how the emeralds work in conjunction with Sonic's universe, as well as Blaze's dimension. In this search, I was led back to a video I made extracting an excerpt from my original Sonic timeline video. Don't watch that one, watch this one. But anyway, in the original timeline video, I dedicated a section of the modern timeline to breaking down the conundrum of Sonic Rush and Sonic 06's placement on the timeline because of Blaze's confusing, contradictory presence in both games. That's when I noticed something I hadn't before. No matter which game you put before the other, Blaze makes no acknowledgement of knowing Sonic beforehand. If you put 06 before Rush, it's a little weird that Sonic doesn't remember Blaze at all, almost as if bro had her blocked from his mind after Elise blows out the flames of Solaris. Blaze can be explained by saying that the emeralds can cause amnesia when used to travel across dimensions. You can rationalize Sonic not remembering Blaze by saying that while Solaris being wiped out didn't erase all memory from everyone involved in the event, the smaller memories didn't stand a chance, seeing as how Sonic and Blaze share screen time in like 1 or 2 scenes. On top of no real acknowledgement of each other, it can be said that their memories of each other were fleeting, setting the stage for an actual friendship to form between the two in Sonic Rush. This theory explains why Sonic and Blaze don't remember each other, but can remember key events from 06 such as being in Crisis City and almost being killed by Silver. However, you could say that Sonic helplessly watching Elise die was a big event even if he manages to right the wrong. If you put Rush before 06, it's almost infuriating how little the two interact despite sharing screen time in an important scene. The infamous Blue Hedgehog scene is, in the Japanese script, a pun on the similar spelling of Blue Hedgehog and naive in kanji, so that's a red herring. However, there is an unused voice clip where Blaze says Sonic's name while pondering about the potential of him being the Iblis trigger.
Sonic, the Iblis trigger. A blue hedgehog. Can it be true? I need to find Silver fast.
This suggests that at some point there was supposed to be a more established connection between the two, which would firmly put 06 after Rush. But then there's other shit that isn't explained, like Blaze being in the future, but I'm not gonna get into all that right now. What I do want to get into is what happens at the end of Silver's story, where Blaze seals the flames of Iblis inside her using Chaos Emeralds. She briefly becomes Burning Blaze and is transported to another dimension. If we put 06 before Rush here, it would suggest that Blaze suffered some level of memory loss. She doesn't remember Sonic, but in Generations she remembers Crisis City. The real fucked up part is that she doesn't even remember Silver. In the DS version of Colors, Silver and Blaze talk about how meeting each other felt like meeting a familiar old friend, but they don't make the connection that they knew each other. Silver doesn't seem to remember anything, seeing as how he seemed uncomfortable with Sonic casually talking about the time Silver tried to put him on a shirt in Sonic Team Racing. There is a second time when the use of the Chaos Emeralds resulted in memory loss during interdimensional travel. In the Sonic IDW comics, while in his super form, Sonic uses the Warp Topaz to get rid of the metal virus. He ends up in Blaze's dimension, acting completely different due to his abrupt memory loss, which Blaze, interestingly, restores using the Soul Emeralds. So what's going on here? Do the Chaos Emeralds cause memory loss to some extent when used in interdimensional travel? My personal answer is no, since you'd have to explain why the Eggmen were able to use the Soul and Chaos Emeralds to travel between dimensions without suffering any kind of memory loss in the Rush games. There's a common thread here that I'm positive wasn't intentional at all, but it's cool that those things lined up this way. Both times when Blaze and Sonic lose their memory, it's not only because of using the Emeralds. An external power intertwined with their direct use of the Emeralds caused the memory loss. If you notice, classic Sonic travels to the future due to the Chaos Emeralds and the Phantom Ruby, but it doesn't result in any side effects for him because it wasn't caused by him intentionally. It seems that Amnesia isn't a side effect of time travel in Sonic's world. I bring this up because Blaze at the end of 06 intentionally seals herself in a different dimension, and apparently goes back in time as she's existing in the same time as Sonic's dimension because they're both parallel to each other. I wish that there was more to talk about here. I've seen little discussion being had about this in the fandom. The most I've seen of this is in the comments on my Blaze video. I want to focus on Vanny Royal's ideas here specifically, as they were the most interesting to me at the time and still are. Not only does Vanny make the connection with the IDW Comics event, they also recently proposed an interesting idea that because Blaze is no longer in Sonic's timeline at the end of Silver's story, she isn't subjected to the memory loss that takes place when Elise blows out the flame. Because of this, the universe tries to realign itself with Sonic's new timeline, causing the creation of the Soul Dimension in the process. They also talked briefly about a potential two Blazes theory that I found amusing because of the whole two classic Sonics ordeal from a few years ago. It contradicts so much shit in the lore though, but they did acknowledge that. I just wanted to share this because it's the meatiest this conversation about this specific reoccurring event that Sonic's canon gets from what I can gather. It's a shame, to be honest. I find that the theories that can be made about the emeralds interacting with other powers causing amnesia through dimension travel to be one of the most fascinating discussions that can be had about Sonic in general. Which is funny because I originally didn't want to talk about it when I initially brainstormed my own thoughts about the 06 Rush problem. I wonder if we'll ever get more info about Knuckles' past. His time as the Guardian of the Master Emerald is shrouded in complete mystery. There isn't much explanation as to how he came to be the Guardian of the Emerald, he just is. Knuckles makes no mention of knowing any other echidna in his youth, which has a few possible explanations that I find interesting. One that I came up with is that Knuckles wasn't raised by any remaining echidna, but rather a Babylon rogue or multiple. Once the remaining echidna died off after giving birth to Knuckles, a Babylon rogue visits Angel Island seeking treasures to claim for themselves. They come across the young Knuckles and taught him about treasure hunting and deciphering ancient text. This would explain why Knuckles is able to read ancient Babylonian texts at the Gigan Rocks in Zero Gravity. He even knows where they were in the first place. The treasure hunting aspect of Knuckles' character hasn't really been used effectively in well over a decade. If they're going to develop the Sonic cast further as hinted at during the story of Frontiers, I'd like for Knuckles the treasure hunter to become more of a central part of his character. The other explanation for Knuckles' mysterious origins comes from someone who goes by the Big RG over on the Sonic Stadium forums. They didn't come up with this theory, but they recall seeing a theory about the Master Emerald being Knuckles' creator. They also make an interesting point that lends some credence to this idea using the inverse color talking point. The Master Emerald is green, and Knuckles is red. This ties back into the idea of super forms being the contrast of the original wielder's fur color. Sonic going from blue to yellow, Shadow was originally going to be silver instead of having light golden fur to contrast his black fur, etc. Side note, I wish they stuck to that idea. I don't mind some characters becoming a lighter shade of their fur like Blaze and Tails of super forms, but imagine Super Silver having black fur contrasting with the light blue teal aura of his psychic powers? It would've looked sick. The Master Emerald potentially creating Knuckles is funny to me, because it would mean that for whatever reason, thousands of years after the original incident, the Master Emerald only recently deciding it would need a physical protector makes no sense. It wouldn't be the first time a being was made with the use of the emeralds. I'll go in a bit of a different direction here and speculate that maybe it wasn't just the Master Emerald, but to cause Spirit creating Knuckles with the use of the Master Emerald. The third explanation is that Knuckles' parents died before he hatched from his egg. So he grew up alongside the Chao and other animals on Angel Island. The older animals probably taught him everything he knows, and exploring Angel Island developed his treasure hunting skills, and because of his lineage, he had a natural affinity for the Master Emerald, which led to him becoming its protector. It's a little like how Chaos became the original guardian of the shrine before the invasion. The more I talk about Knuckles, the more I'm reminded of how tragic a lot of the old events before Sonic's time in the games are. I do hope we get added depth to Knuckles' life, whether it happens in the comics or in the games. His resurgence in recent years as a respectable fan favorite should indicate that we're getting more of him in the future, and I'd like to see where they go with him. That's all I got for this one. Be sure to tell me which of these theories and headcanons you like in the comments below. You can do that, or talk about any theories you may have, or that you've seen elsewhere that you find interesting. I'm always on the lookout for good ones, so share them if you got them. If you enjoyed this video, I got tons of Sonic videos you can check out on my channel. I'm out. Peace.